love, lost, and found. I was born on November 15th, 1988 at 10:30 a.m. in Cooper Hospital as Anita N. Parker. I was born to Annette Parker and John Honey. Growing up as a child, I didn't know what it felt like to be a part of a united family as a result of my father's running in and out of my life from the age of 3 until now. For a long period of time, my family consisted of my mother, my brother, and I. Although my brother and I shared the same mother, we had different fathers. It felt kind of erratic not having the same father as my brother, but our love for one another is unconditional. During weekends, my brother and I would usually go with our individual fathers. Weekend after weekend, my brother would always leave first while I sat on the sofa waiting patiently for my dad, hoping that he wouldn't stand me up again. Although he let me down each time, I still believed that he would change. My mother was always the one who would sit beside me and say, "Don't worry, he probably had to work late. I'm quite sure he'll be here tomorrow." She would always have to make excuses for him, just to cheer me up and stop my tears. As wise and intelligent as I was, my mom knew I was too smart to really believe the excuses. For some reason, being daddy's little girl almost makes it impossible to see something wrong in your daddy, even if he made you cry. I don't think I was as important to my father as his smoking and drinking habits. It didn't bother him one bit when he would hurt my feelings. One very negative quality about my father is his inability to acknowledge when he has done something wrong, especially when it came to lying to me and standing me up. As a woman now, being stood up by my dad in the past was like being stood up on my first date. My dad put me in some really dangerous situations too. Once when I was 5 years old, my father left me in a house with people I didn't know. He said, "I'm going around the corner. I'll be back in 10 minutes. After 2 hours of being in the house, I realized he wasn't coming back for me. Somehow, I found my way out of the house and found a payphone to call my mother. I remember my mother asking me where I was. I couldn't give her clear directions, so she asked me to find anybody that could tell her how to get to me. I found an old man who got on the phone to tell my mother my exact location. He stayed there with me until she came. I remember he was a really nice man. That experience was scary, especially as a 5-year-old. Although I lost the love of my father, my stepfather was there to replace the lost love, especially when I had to face the most drastic, painful thing in life ever, and that was the loss of my son. I have to say that without my mother and stepfather, I truly would have not gotten past the hurt and tears. Now that my stepfather has joined our family, I must say that things in my life have been a lot easier with a strong father figure around the house. My stepfather, Craig L. Carter, was a man with no children of his own. But if you were to ask him, he would proudly tell you that he has 2 wonderful children that he wouldn't trade in for the world. As you know, being daddy's little girl shredded my heart into pieces. But my stepfather came along and put every broken piece back together as if it never was broken. Although he's not my real father, I couldn't thank him enough for coming into my life and showing me there is a God and there are people who know how to love from the heart.